One of the most controversial topics in all of NASCAR is who is the best of all time? Who is the best there ever was? Such a controversial topic is so controversial because it's so hard to figure out. It seems sometimes that there isn't even a correct answer because there really isn't. There's so many ways to figure out who you think would be the best, whether that's wins, championships, or so many other accomplishments. But the truth is, none of those really on their own signify who's the best. So what I did was I looked at the start to win ratio. So basically, it doesn't have to be exact percentage, but if I had 100 wins, but I had 1,000 starts, I didn't win 900 times. But if you had 50 wins and 100 starts, your win ratio is way more than mine because your win percentage is 50% and mine is way lower. You have less wins than me, but I had way more starts than you. So that's basically how I figured it out when they got really, really close. But when you have people who are very, very close or like have 7 championships, that outweighs some things. Doesn't outweigh everything, but it certainly outweighs a lot of things. Wins outweigh a lot of things, but it just depends on how you did it. How is the competition then? But anyways, let's get into it. Before we get into the top 10 best NASCAR drivers of all time, I'm going to show you some honorable mentions and give you a quick run through of their stats. Basically, they're honorable mentions because, well, their wins kind of don't correlate as much to others as their starts because these people, most of them have around 50 to 55 wins and around 600 to 700 starts. And there are a lot more people, either with more wins or less starts, that deserve to be in the top 10 or closer to the top 10 than these guys do. But still, they're great drivers, so they deserve to be mentions here. We have Rusty Wallace, who has 55 career wins and 1 championship and 36 poles. Then we have Kevin Harvick, who has 55 wins, 1 championship, and 32 poles. Buck Baker with 46 wins, 2 championships, and 45 poles. Tony Stewart with 49 wins and 3 championships and 15 poles, which is kind of interesting. 15 poles is kind of low for a guy who has so many wins. Jimmie Johnson has 50 wins and actually 0 championships with 46 poles. Lee Petty, now this is where it gets close, okay? So Lee Petty has 54 wins and 3 championships with only 18 poles. But poles don't mean as much. So we get close here, and another honorable mention is Ned Jarrett, who's right after Lee Petty here. Ned Jarrett has 50 wins and 2 championships and 35 poles. Well, if you make them have the same exact starts, because they're pretty much way off. Lee Petty has 427 starts, and Ned Jarrett has 352 starts. Ned Jarrett would have 18 less top 10s, but 29 more top 5s than Lee Petty. So it gets really close there. Plus, if you don't really know, but if you looked at it, Ned would have way more wins because he only has 4 less wins than Lee. So it really gets close there. So I think that Ned Jarrett would probably be better than Lee Petty. Lee Petty won the first Daytona 500 in 1959. Ned Jarrett was a 14-lap winner in the Southern 500 at Darlington. I mean, both are really accomplished. But, it's just tough to see. But I think Ned Jarrett is slightly better. But then there's another guy with 48 wins. And his name is Herb Thomas, who is actually 10th place on my list. He has only 229 starts and 48 wins. He's so close to the wins of the other guys that have 100 or more starts than him. And if you make them have the same starts, Herb Thomas would have 245 top 5s compared to Ned's 185, and he would have 279 top 10s compared to Ned's 239. Plus, he has more poles, better average starts, better average finishes, and the same amount of championships, which is 2. Not to mention, Herb Thomas is NASCAR's first 2-time champion, and he has the best winning percentage of all time, which is 0.2105. Herb Thomas is really overlooked in so many things, but Herb Thomas, if you look at the stats, really deserves to be 10th on the all-time NASCAR drivers list, especially in the top 10. So Herb Thomas, really overlooked, but definitely deserves to be in 10th place here on my list, or on anybody's list, really. All right, and we go to 9th. All right, we have 9th is Darrell Waltrip. Darrell Waltrip, obviously one of the all-time greats. It kind of seems odd to have him so low, but there's such high competition. He has 84 career wins and 3 championships. So let's go ahead and look at his full-on statistics here. Alrighty, guys, so you may be wondering why Darrell Waltrip is so low, considering that there's quite a few people who have around his wins in the 80s, the early 80s. Well, if we look at his stats here with his win ratio to start ratio, he has 809 starts. 809. I mean, that is a lot, like great accomplishment. He started a lot of races, but he only has 84 wins, 276 top 5s, 390 top 10s, and 59 poles. Well, compared to the other people, they don't have too much less starts, but they definitely are less starts compared to where the same amount of wins as Darrell Waltrip is. But those 3 championships are quite a big accomplishment. Darrell Waltrip does have a 13.7 starting average and a 15.1 finishing average, which is kind of slightly bit lower than some of the other drivers around his win stats. So let's go to number 8 on the list. Number 8 is th-Cale Yarborough, who actually has one less win than Darrell Waltrip does. He has 83 career wins, and let's go look at the stats of th-Cale Yarborough, who we know is, had lots and lots of success in his career. One of the old-time guys, had lots of feuds with Bobby Allison, so let's go ahead and look at his stats. All right, so th-Cale Yarborough, 83 career cup wins and 3 championships, extremely close to where Darrell Waltrip is with 84 wins and 3 championships. But th-Cale Yarborough has 560 career starts, which is way less than Darrell Waltrip's 809. They have pretty close top 5s with 255 top 5s and 319 top 10s, 69 poles, which is an extreme accomplishment. That's more than Darrell. And an 8.2 average starting position and a 12.6 average finishing position, which is way better than Darrell Waltrip was. So these people are so close, it's really hard to look. But the main turning point that made me say th-Cale is a little bit better than Darrell is the starts. 560 with only one less win compared to one more win in 809. That's a big gap. Obviously, you could, equipment. There's so many other factors. I know there is. But you just have to look at it right here, right now, because going too deep in it, you're not going to find a right answer. These aren't even right answers. It's just kind of as close as we can get sometimes. So we're just looking at this, and 31 years compared to Darrell's 29 years doesn't matter. The actual thing that matters is the starts, not the years, because different seasons and different years had different amounts of races. So let's go ahead and see who is 7th on the top 10 all-time best NASCAR drivers list. Oh yeah, so Bobby Allison, who is big rival of th-Cale Yarborough, is 7th. Bobby Allison has 84 career wins, the same amount as Darrell Waltrip. They're tied for that position, which is one more than th-Cale Yarborough. But we're going to see why Bobby Allison is actually a little bit better than th-Cale Yarborough in the way I'm doing who I think would be better according to their statistics. So let's go ahead and look at Bobby Allison's statistics. Man, I cannot speak today. So let's go ahead and look. All right, guys, so you could argue this one is a little bit flawed, but if you listen to what I'm saying, you could argue that Bobby Allison is slightly better. So Bobby Allison does have more starts than th-Cale Yarborough and one more win. But at the same time, he does have quite a bit more top 5s and top 10s with 336 top 5s and 446 top 10s, 59 poles. That doesn't really matter. But he only has one championship compared to Cale's 3 championships. And one thing I like to look at, because Cale Yarborough's 3 championships were 3 in a row, which is really impressive. But if you look at the championships, or the one championship that Bobby Allison has, it's so late in his career. It's in 1983. So in 1983, Bobby Allison was he was 45 years old. People are retiring these days at 40 years old in NASCAR. He was 45 years old and he got his first career championship and 6 wins that season. And he really wasn't backing down when he was old. He was 50 years old and got 1 win. Like in 1984, he got 2 wins. And look at the absolute, like, there are less races in these seasons than what we have today. And if you look at the top 5s and the top 10s, he's got 25 top 10s out of 30 races. And you go up here, 27 out of 31, 31 out of 40. Well, it gets more up there, but 31 out of 48. And it's kind of 15 out of 30. Half of the races Bobby Allison got top 5s in 1976. Even 31 races. Wow, he got 18 top 5s, 14 top 5s. Both years he got 22 top 10s out of 30 races and 31 races. You're going to tell me that isn't remarkable right there. That is what shows you Bobby Allison is really the real deal. So let's go ahead and see who is 6th on my list. This number 6 could be quite controversial, but he's, some people don't like him, but you can't deny that he's really, really great. Alrighty, guys. So 6th on my list is Kyle Busch. Now, this is not NASCAR. This is not the top 10 best NASCAR Cup Series drivers. This is the top 10 best NASCAR drivers. Kyle Busch has the most NASCAR wins of all time. Okay, that's through the National Series, Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. He has 212 total NASCAR wins. He has the most wins in Xfinity with 97 wins, and the most wins in Trucks with 59 wins. The second highest in Xfinity is Mark Martin with 49. He has 97. The second highest in Trucks is Ron Hornaday Jr. with 51, and Kyle has 59. Now, not as much with Trucks, but it will be soon. But with Xfinity, 97 compared to 49, and Kyle isn't even done yet. What? He completely destroys the competition in Xfinity. Obviously he's a Cup guy going back down. He's a leech, as some would call them. But come on, that is absolute dominance. And Kyle Busch has 56 career Cup wins, 2 championships in the Cup Series. Okay? Some people you consider, like big historic legends, only have 2 championships, like Herb Thomas. Kyle Busch has 2 championships and 56 wins. And he's not done yet. He's only in his mid-30s. Imagine how many wins he could get and how many more championships he could get. I know he's having a slump right now, but everybody has that. Jeff Gordon had that. Everybody had that. You can't judge a guy right now on this one bad season. He won the championship last year. It's not like he's been bad for a while, and it's not even like a bad Jimmie Johnson year. So Kyle Busch, you can't deny, is one of the greatest of all time, even if you hate him or love him, because there is no in-between. So let's go and see who is number 5. So now we're really getting into the top 5. The top 5 here is basically what you guys would think as, the top 5 greatest of all time. Like, these are who come to your mind. So we're going to go ahead and look at that right after we look at Kyle Busch's stats, because we got to look at his starts in the Cup Series. So let's go ahead and look at that real quick. All right, so good old Kyle Busch has 557 starts in the Cup Series with 56 wins, 210 top 5s, and 308 top 10s. He's not even close to being done. He's 35 years old, not even close. He's in his prime right now. He has 32 poles, 2 championships, average starting of 12.2, average finish of 13.7. Kyle Busch is not even close. And if you're just going to be blown away looking at that is his Xfinity stats and his truck stats. Like, this isn't even worth looking over. I mean, he's obviously the best in this. And Kyle Busch, let's say Kyle Busch is in it for many more years, which he will be. Just imagine how many wins he could get, how many championships he could get, and imagine where he could be on the all-time wins list. He could surpass Dale Earnhardt for 76 wins. I definitely think that. Could he get up to the 80s with Bobby Allison and those guys? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But only 557 wins with 56 wins. We're going to see who that compares to of one of the all-time greats. So let's go ahead and get to the 5th place person. Okay, so on 5th place, we have the Intimidator himself, Dale Earnhardt. Dale Earnhardt has 76 career wins and an all-time record tied with Jimmie Johnson and Richard Petty, 7 career championships in the Cup Series. Obviously, Dale Earnhardt's one of the best, and he was cut short. He was not slowing down. He was old, old by today's standards of NASCAR drivers, and he wasn't slowing down. If he didn't die in that Daytona race, could he have gotten maybe close to Bobby Allison and maybe even another championship? That is possible. And Dale Earnhardt, we really don't know what he would have been capable of, because if he didn't die, the whole NASCAR industry would have been completely different right now and throughout the past. So Dale Earnhardt, let's go ahead and look at his stats, because 7 championships, like I said in the beginning, outweighs quite a bit of things. So we're going to go ahead and look at that. All right, so Dale Earnhardt, definitely one of the all-time greats, has 676 career starts. Well, Kyle Busch only has a little more than 100 less than that, and 20 less wins, which is pretty good for Kyle Busch. But Dale Earnhardt has 76 wins, 281 top 5s, and 428 top 10s with 22 poles. But the big thing, 76 wins is already impressive enough. Don't get me wrong. That's great. Nobody is in the 60s or 70s with wins. But if you look over here, guys, look at that. 1 championship, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He got 3 times. He got 2 in a row. Okay, so Dale Earnhardt definitely. Look, Dale Earnhardt. You could accuse him of wrecking people a lot, but look, the stats don't lie. If you win a race, you win a race no matter how you win it. If it's rain, if you dump somebody, that's how you won it. And wow, so 7 championships. It's impressive, because the other people we talk about having 7 championships, Jimmie Johnson and Richard Petty, we call, Richard Petty the king. Obviously he has way more wins than Dale Earnhardt, but, we're going to look at Richard Petty and see actually how his stats really are compared to his 200 wins. So let's look who is 4th on my wins list, or my all-time greats list. We were just talking about him. Richard Petty, the king, is 4th on my list with 200 wins and an all-time record of 7 championships. He definitely deserves to be called the king, but let's look at his stats that, well, if you look at one part of them, they aren't also glorified. So let's go ahead and look at that. All right, so Richard Petty, the king, we're going to look at his stats here. Man, never ending here. 1,184 starts. Now, like I was talking about in the beginning, it's about win to start ratios. He only has 200 wins. I shouldn't say that. It's the all-time record in Cup Series, but look at the starts he had. And plus, it's true, though, what I'm about to say. He was basically, his equipment was 10 times, 100 times better than the entire field. He had no competition. Of course he was going to win. 555 top 5s, 712 top 10s, 123 poles, 7 championships, because who else was there to defeat him? Well, there was later. We'll get to him soon. But, most of the time, considering full time here, Richard Petty was just on a whole nother level. Okay, so Richard Petty, his equipment was so good that how do you judge if he truly, could be the best NASCAR driver of all time? And driver in all caps, because The other people just, they didn't have what he had. And obviously he was ahead of his game. So, I mean, great by him. So, yeah, let's get to number 3. At number 3, I have Jeff Gordon, who has 93 career Cup Series wins and 4 championships. 4 championships really doesn't glorify how many he could have gotten. Neither does 93 wins because, of course, Ray Evernham was not with him anymore. His crew chief that got him to so many championships in the past. And Jeff Gordon, 4 championships, 1995, 1997, 1998, and 2001. He has the all-time record in the modern era of wins in a year with 13. He has 81 career poles, which is Hall of Fame worthy already. Jeff Gordon, obviously, if there's so many ifs in this, but if he could have had the right crew chief, which, he still won with different crew chiefs. I'm not taking that against him, but he just couldn't close the deal on championships. He got to 93 wins, 3rd all-time wins, all-time in the Cup Series. But could he have beaten David Pearson for 2nd place and 105 wins? Could he have been 7-time champion Jeff Gordon, and maybe Jimmie Johnson wouldn't have been? We'll have to look at his statistics right now for his starts to win ratio. All right, so Jeff Gordon with 805 starts, 93 wins, 325 top 5s, and 477 top 10s with 81 poles and 4 championships. Jeff Gordon is truly one of the best drivers of all time, because if you think about it, how many drivers, when they're getting close to their end of the career, even when they're all-time greats, really they don't win? And, well, Jeff Gordon won, and he was competitive in his final seasons. He made the championship 4 in 2015, which was his final full-time season. Ignore 2016. Ignore that one. That's when Dale Earnhardt had a concussion, or Dale Earnhardt Jr. had a concussion. But in 2015 and all these years, obviously he had some slump years, but when he got to the end of his career, he was still competitive, showing that Jeff Gordon, going from 1993 to 2015, could still get it done. And if Ray Evernham was his crew chief, my gosh, the wins would have skyrocketed, and the championships, I'm pretty sure, would have skyrocketed as well, because Jeff Gordon, they kind of took everything away from him, right? They gave lots of his crew chiefs and engineers and cars to Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmie Johnson, just his teammates. Jeff Gordon kind of was kind of pushed to the side a little bit, which he shouldn't have been, because he was kind of overlooked, when he was, after he kind of had his 4 championships. So Jeff Gordon, I think Jeff Gordon is really one of those guys that, if put in the right situation, more than he already was, could have absolutely destroyed the competition more than anybody we've ever seen in the NASCAR Cup Series. So let's go to the 2nd place guy in the all-time NASCAR drivers. Jimmie Johnson, in my list, is the 2nd best NASCAR driver of all time. 7-time Jimmie Johnson, 5 championships in a row, multiple different playoff formats, multiple different types of cars. That's unheard of to do that. They literally changed everything to make him stop winning. And he didn't stop winning. He didn't stop winning, and he didn't stop winning the championships. Chad Knaus, obviously one of the best crew chiefs of all time, helped him through this, but Chad Knaus was not behind the wheel. Jimmie Johnson was the guy who is in the main media and got it done. He goes down in history as only 3 people. Like, if you think about this, he is one of only 3 people in the entire world to get 7 NASCAR Cup Series championships. And the other people are called the King and the Intimidator, fan favorites, and Jimmie Johnson here is, you have to consider him one of the all-time greats, because if you don't, there really is no reason to not, because 5 championships in a row with completely different things, completely different playoff formats, completely different cars. In all 7 of his championships, those were different. it's quite remarkable. Let's look at his stats because, 83 career wins, 7 championships. I mean, it really blows you away to look at the 5 in a row. All right, Jimmie Johnson, obviously on a slump right now in his last career Cup Series full-time year, but, this is undeniable. 673 starts, 83 wins, 230 top 5s, 371 top 10s, and 36 poles. And his championships with a 12.1 average start and a 13.0 average finish. But look at this. 5 in a row, and then you go down a little more, another one, and another one. Jimmie Johnson is the real deal. Jimmie Johnson is one of those guys that no matter what kind of car you put him in, he really got it done. He did. No matter what kind of crazy playoff format that NASCAR kept coming up with to make their fans more mad, Jimmie Johnson came over the mountain and still defeated it. And it's quite crazy how Jimmie Johnson can do these types of things, when many people, that are considered great, like Richard Petty didn't get 5 in a row, and his equipment was so much better than everybody else. And Jimmie Johnson, obviously, yeah, his equipment was better, but it wasn't like 100 times better. And it's completely different now in the modern era where the cars are definitely more close together than they were when Richard Petty was in his prime, for sure. So let's get to see who in my list is the best NASCAR driver of all time. If you really know about NASCAR, you probably could fill in the missing blank, and it's really not many people have the opinion that I do, because he's kind of overshadowed a lot. But he truly is one of the best NASCAR drivers of all time, and I think he is the best NASCAR driver of all time. So let's go ahead and look at him. All right, so right after 7-time Jimmie Johnson, who is the best NASCAR driver of all time? The best NASCAR driver of all time is none other than David Pearson. The Silver Fox has more than half the wins of the King Richard Petty and less than half the starts of the King Richard Petty. He was Richard Petty's biggest competition back when Richard Petty was in his prime, and most of the time, the majority of the time, David Pearson was beating Richard Petty. David Pearson is the second all-time winner on the all-time wins list in the Cup Series with 105 wins, 3 championships, and actually, if you look at his stats, which we'll go to in a minute, technically never has done a full season. Literally has never run every single race in the season. And there's 4 times that he was really close in doing that. 1964, 1966, 1968, and 1969. He got out of those 4 seasons, 3 of them, he won the championship. Those were 66, 68, and 69. In 64, he finished 3rd in the points. Well, a lot more consistent than Petty did, I'll tell you that, and a lot less starts than Petty did, and more than half the wins as Richard Petty. So let's go ahead and look at David Pearson's stats and look at actually how many starts he had. David Pearson, second on the all-time wins list, had 574 starts with 105 wins, 301 top 5s, 366 top 10s, and 113 poles with 3 championships. And in those 3 championships, they were in 1964, so let's go to 64 up here, which he did not get the championship. He did 61 out of 62 races. I mean, you could argue that's full-time. It's only 1 race he missed, but still, technically, he did not do every single race in that season. Now, 66, 68, and 69, he didn't quite do all the races either. And guess what? He won the championship in them. 3 championships right there. And then the other year, he got 3rd in the points. Well, who does that these days? Obviously, it's impossible with NASCAR's rules to do that these days. But he took it straight up to Richard Petty and beat Richard Petty when he wanted to do it, because he didn't race full time barely any of the seasons, because, well, it didn't pay as much money to do that. He went to the races that paid the most money because in those races, he knew he could win. He knew he could take it to Richard Petty and beat him and get the money at the track that paid the most. David Pearson, obviously one of the best NASCAR drivers of all time. And to me, he is the best NASCAR driver of all time, ever. Drove for the Wood brothers, drove for Holman and Moody. Absolutely, absolute legend in NASCAR. And just one of the best. And I think he is the best. And I think it's quite sad that lots of people who consider themselves NASCAR fans don't even know who David Pearson is. Like, I mean, some people, you know, they watch NASCAR and they don't know who David Pearson is. Okay, I mean, that's fine. But the people who consider themselves to be people, like, they actually say they know a lot about NASCAR, and then you say, oh, David Pearson. Oh, who's that? Or David Pearson. Oh, he wasn't good. David Pearson is such a hidden figure because I don't know why, nobody knows about him. The absolute disrespect for him is astonishing. It's crazy how he is the second all-time winner in the Cup Series, more than half the wins of the King, Richard Petty, who everybody knows the name of, and less than half the starts. Only 574 starts for Pearson and 1,184 starts for Petty. You tell me who you think's better, okay? You know, obviously the giant equipment gap with Petty, you could argue the same with Pearson, but at least Pearson took it to Petty and, well, beat him most of the time. Pearson, 3 championships, never did a full-time season. Close to did, but really didn't. And out of those ones that you could argue he did, 4 out of the 3 times he won the championships, or 3 out of the 4 times he won the championship, and the other time he finished 3rd in points. David Pearson is the best NASCAR driver of all time, and I am calling it right here. So thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one, guys. Bye-bye, guys.